Hello, everybody. Happy Lunar New Year. It is the 17th here in Bangkok. Again, as I said in the video I posted yesterday, I'm officially a Bangkok baddie. If you have never been to Bangkok or Thailand, 100% recommend. Such a beautiful country, such a beautiful culture, and Bangkok has so much to offer as a city. And one thing I really, really appreciate about it is the level of safety here. So if you've been here, you know. If you have not, I highly suggest at some point you make an effort to visit. But happy Lunar New Year. I hope you're all doing amazing today. I'm just hopping on for a quick live stream. I have my baby blue silk on, okay, to celebrate the new year. And before we get into today's live stream, remember that life is not happening to you, but happening through you. When you become the change you seek to experience, you're going to experience that change everywhere you go. You are showing the world how to treat you based off of how you identify, how you're showing up, how you're responding, the behaviors you're materializing, what you're persisting in mentally, and the example you're setting. I'm hopping on to just talk about this topic. As you guys can see in the title, you do not need this person to come back to validate you. And we're going to just be very, as usual, very real in this video. Before I even say anything, okay, I am never discouraging you to not believe that you can have what you want. Okay. Again, there's been this, like, I've seen little comments on my channel like, you don't believe in manifestation or creating results anymore. That's not it. My whole thing on this, though, is there's so much opportunity. There's so many things that you could want. And I think having options is a good thing. And I think looking at things very honestly and critically is important. We don't have to cut that part out of the process when it's moving towards creating desired experiences in our life. And in today's video, we're just going to be very bluntly honest and real about why you may want particular things. Because there is a certain train of thought or narrative or pattern that I'm noticing. I've been guilty of this in the past. So when I'm talking about this too, no, I'm never coming from a judgmental place. I genuinely want the best for you. I want to have a real conversation with you. So again, you're making decisions and you're operating in ways that you can look back at and be like, yeah, I'm happy I did that. I thought things through. I really understood what was going on, took a full picture perspective, and made the best choice for myself. I think that's very important. Okay. Now, this is going to be framed within relationships, but it can expand to anything: career, people's opinions of you, social dynamics. In yesterday's video, we talked a lot about, realizing what I'm talking about here on my channel is you're no longer using people outside of you to validate you or circumstances to validate you. You define yourself. And again, this can apply to so many different areas of our life. I think it's a natural human desire. It's a normal want and need to be accepted, liked, and embraced. And that is okay. We are not designed to be apart. Like, we don't have to go into this like hyper independent mindset of like nobody else matters. I'm so totally self-sustaining on my own, which yes, we want to be able to sustain ourselves, but a beautiful part of life is human connection and closeness and intimacy and community. And so while we can maintain a strong sense of self and not need people outside of us to like us or validate us, we have to also understand we're human and we are designed, for closeness and intimacy and community. I just think how we go about that matters, right? I can value these things. I can embrace these experiences in my life, but I don't allow them to define me. So again, today's video, you don't need this specific person or thing to show up to validate you. I'm going to put this in the context of breakups or difficult situations and social dynamics, but again, it can expand to so many different things. The pattern that I notice, and we're just going to start off with what I notice, which is when people are in undesirable circumstances, they will list all the terrible or bad or undesirable things that somebody does to them. And they're cognizant and aware that these things are unacceptable. Okay. And they understand that they deserve better. They know that they deserve real commitment or respect or consistent communication, whatever it may be on a conscious level. Okay, we're going to get into the subconscious component of this in a second. Okay, so they're aware they've experienced something undesirable, and they also aware that they're aware that they deserve better. But then they very quickly gloss over all the unacceptable things and go straight to, I need this person to show up to feel better about myself. There's a deeper desire here. My ego wants them to apologize, to show up and treat me better so that I can feel better about myself. And really what you're saying is I need them to validate for me that I deserve these things. Okay? So we got to be honest about that because we can't dance around that point because and we're going to go back to the subconscious part of this. If you really know that you deserve respect, healthy communication, people that take ownership and accountability, people that honor you properly, people that value you properly, you should not need a particular person to show up to validate that for you. And we're going to go to that point too of the treatment, right? So this deeper desire to be validated is blinding you from actually facing reality and objectively looking at what somebody has done that is unacceptable. Because that's another component here. If I genuinely know and believe I deserve those things, then at the same time, I'm also going to look at how somebody treated me and I'm going to say, that's unacceptable. I have no desire or attraction towards having this person in my life because they have already shown up in ways and tried to treat me in ways that I know I do not deserve. So there's a contradiction here now, right? When we really genuinely and honestly look at this. Okay. So I'm in a situation where I've been treated improperly and I want a particular person to show up to treat me better because I know, because some of you are convincing yourself, I know I deserve this, right? I know I deserve that communication. I know I deserve that respect. I know I deserve X, Y, and Z. But that desire, there's a contradiction in it because if I know I actually deserve those things, then I'm also going to realize I don't need this person to show up. Actually, I can accept what they've done for face value. I can validate myself and I can move forward only entertaining the things that I desire. So we have to talk about this because this can become a very vicious cycle and you can get stuck on this for a while. Okay. I'm just being, again, we're being really straightforward and honest here because I want to shake some of you awake to see the contradiction in that thought and that thought pattern and that way of organizing yourself. Okay. Because there is a limitation you're placing on yourself, which is I need this particular person or this particular thing to occur in order to validate me, which no, the only person you need is you. But I think what is also happening here when we're subscribing to this thought pattern and this way of operating is we're also placing a limitation on our possibilities and what's available. And this again can go into career, this can go into so many different aspects of your life, but particularly within relationships, some of you can be, this is a possibility. I just want you to think about it. Okay. Let me also say this here. Okay. I am just sharing things for you to think about. So do not take my word as gospel. Do not take my word as fact. I'm presenting things for you to think about, to then assess, really sit with yourself and discern on your own. Because I think it's a wise thing to look at things from multiple different perspectives. And then again, come to a conclusion where you're making a solid decision, where you have taken all those things into account and you're doing something that you can see, okay, yes, this is healthy for me. I'm going to be confident with how I move forward here. So going back to the contradiction in that thought pattern, okay, another layer that could be going on here is at some level, you believe that this is the best you can get. And usually what you're doing when you're having this thought form is we're glossing over all the bad things. Okay. So they disrespected me. They didn't value me properly. They didn't pay me properly. They overworked me, whatever it may be. But then there's little moments that are good. Okay. So, but in this moment, we had a really good conversation. In this moment, they were really loving and kind to me. In this moment, they appreciated my work. So we're going to look at the full picture here. Very undesirable things occurring. We're wanting this to show up differently to validate something within ourselves. And then another layer that could be going on here is we can't get better. And because we have that train of thought going, then we're romanticizing or focusing on the good things to justify the bad things to continue to drive this pattern that's going on. Okay. Not very fun. Okay. Not very fun. So, what I'm talking about here too is this limitation that you're placing on yourself surrounding availability. I cannot get better. There are not better people out there. It's going to be difficult to meet somebody that loves me and wants to commit to me and treats me nice. It's going to be difficult for me to create a job or get a job where I'm paid properly, fully respected. I can maintain a lifestyle that I desire. Again, whatever the case or circumstance may be, we're placing this limited availability limitation on top of it that again keeps you stuck in this vicious cycle of wanting and needing and yearning for particular things to show up to validate yourself. And I'm here to tell you, you don't have to do that. Okay, if anything that I'm saying right now resonates, please realize, one, you have to be the person to define and validate yourself. And I know in some of this, that may mean that you have to give yourself that closure. Okay, but here's the beauty of belief work and nervous system regulation is you will naturally find closure through defining yourself in new ways and move past situations without needing that closure. But the beautiful thing in that too is when you really embody this, generally people come back around, apologize, you set a new standard in your life and the world adjusts. Even if that doesn't happen though, you're able to move forward just confidently and in a happy way. Okay, so we want to. Just lost my train of thought, but we're all good. Okay, we'll get back in it. When we're looking at these situations, we have to realize we have to be the person that validates ourselves first, right? And we establish those beliefs to operate above it. Let me see here. I'm still a little bit tired, you guys, from traveling yesterday. I really wanted to get on and talk about this topic. Okay. So obviously, yes, we need to validate ourselves, but moving forward, when we do that belief work, we rise up to also see there's other options for us that are available. Okay. And we don't have to sit here and wait for somebody to love or value us properly or show up to validate anything within ourselves. And this is where I'm going to encourage you, if you're in any of these types of circumstances, to really look at these things accurately and discern them properly to figure out what is really driving me towards this. Why do I really need this particular person or thing to show up differently to feel better about myself? Okay, what about physical attraction? How to get over it? Again, that's there where we're placing a limitation on there's not a lot of people that I can be physically attracted to available for me. And so when you're looking at these situations, what I really don't want you to do is gloss over all of the negative things that have occurred and keep yourself stuck and waiting for particular people or circumstances to show up to be happy. Okay. To embrace life because it doesn't have to be that way. There are so, the lights on the ceiling are so bomb. Yes, I love this type of overhead lighting too. There's so much opportunity. There's so many people in the world that you can connect with. And if you can really listen to what I'm saying here today, you're going to mentally free yourself from those vicious cycles of getting stuck, of waiting for people to show up for you, of waiting for people to love you, of waiting for job circumstances to change. You're going to then adjust and set a new example. And I want some of you to really, really be honest about this because those things that are bad or unacceptable, some of you are really glossing over them and pacifying them or downplaying them in ways that you shouldn't. You have to really look at those things and ask yourself, if this person really can't take ownership and accountability, if this person or these people cannot treat me in respectful ways, they can't communicate in healthy ways, one, I'm not going to internalize that. I'm not going to say that I deserve this or use these people as a reflection of what is true for me. But two, why? Why would I even want this person in my life? What is actually driving me towards this? And that's where you have to understand the subconscious component of this. There has to be some part of me that needs these people to show up differently to validate something within me, something that I need to define for myself. I need it so much that I'm willing to look past unacceptable things. And then you have to look at that and see like, okay, if I am so quick to lower my standards and need people to show up for me in new ways to define who I am, is that a part of the reason why I get treated these ways? because I'm willing to look past things. I'm willing to accept things that I don't deserve. And I need people to show up in particular ways to tell me I am good enough. I do deserve those things. No, you don't. Okay. And again, this is where there may be a few things that need to be adjusted, particularly when it comes to dating, too, realizing you have getting into a belief system that is, I have tons of options with people that are attractive. Okay. It's normal for me to receive XYZ treatment, whether that be communication, healthy communication, love, commitment, whatever it is. You want to get into a belief system where you expand and move out of any sort of lack where there's constraints, right? I'm not going to be able to find anybody else. It's really, really difficult to meet people. There's not a lot of people that I'm attracted to. Start really challenging those beliefs. There are a lot of people that I am attracted to that can treat me properly. I do have options in love. Give yourself that freedom to expand, okay? And also couple that with validating yourself, building up your self-esteem. The beauty of this, when you actually do this, is your daily quality of life increases. So now we're no longer waiting for people to show up and validate us. The second thing is you open yourself up to new experiences. The third thing is you start to actually embody and set a new example. Now, what this does, when I was talking about in the video, I believe it was like 2 days ago, about follow this and your life will really change. You start setting a new example in your reality, people are going to rise up to meet that. So not only will you open yourself up to new experiences, but whatever these past experiences were, when that comes back around, because you are operating differently, you're now within a version of yourself to create a new dynamic, a new circumstance with you and that particular person, company, whatever it may be. Okay. Why does it sound more like get over it and don't manifest your desire? That's not what I'm saying. I actually started this video saying, I'm not here to tell you what to want. I am telling you to be honest when you are being disrespected and not being treated properly, because some of you are lying to yourself. And this is the exact train of thought that I'm talking about. You are sitting here saying this person is playing in my face, not loving me. You are waiting for text messages, somebody to acknowledge you, somebody to love you properly. And you're not recognizing how disrespectful that is to yourself, how low the bar has been set. You are pacifying negative behaviors. You're sitting here and thinking, I have to figure out how to make somebody to love me. And you're not seeing the contradiction in that. Okay. Because what I am saying, what I was just saying is when you organize yourself differently, you put yourself in the position where people rise up to meet you there. So when I no longer need you, okay, when I no longer need you to validate me, love me, or show up for me, and when I no longer place this limitation of limited availability, now I'm going to embody and set an example that receiving commitment, having options, being loved properly, receiving healthy communication is a normal experience for me. We manifest who we're being, what we assume. So this is why this is very important to be honest about, because if there is a part of you that is sitting here waiting for people to show up and love you properly, and you need it desperately, you're holding on to it and you're allowing how they're physically showing up to define you, how are you going to evolve above that? My ego feels rejected. Okay, so that's what we need to be honest about. There's a part of you that feels rejected and is using this person outside of you to validate that, right? So I don't feel good enough because you're not loving me, committing to me, or communicating with me consistently. So I need you to change so that I can realize I do deserve acceptance, love, commitment, communication. There's a flaw in that thinking. I'm just being honest with you. You have to define that. And once you define that, once you realize, actually, I don't need you to show up any particular way. I know I deserve these things. I also know I have options. It's normal for me to receive love, commitment, consistency, whatever it may be, to be paid properly, to get the jobs that I desire. Now I'm not going to sit here waiting for anything, right? Then in my day-to-day life, I'm going to be taking care of myself. I am going to be showing up for myself. I'm going to be embracing new experiences. I'm going to be living in the end of a version of myself that gets those things, which is what allows circumstances to change. You're not letting the outside world define you anymore. You are placing the power here and how you're organizing yourself. You're setting a new example. That is what manifests. Okay, so you have to be very, very honest about this, because again, sitting here needing people to show up differently to validate who you are is backwards thinking in regards to these topics. You're essentially saying, I need the outside world to give me permission to define who I am. I need this particular person or this particular thing to show up for me to finally accept and believe that I deserve love, consistency, and commitment. But the whole premise of everything that you're doing, at least what I'm talking about here on my channel, is building yourself up, defining who you are, setting that standard. So those two things can't be existing at once. Okay. And I definitely don't want to be lying about what has occurred previously and gaslighting myself and ignoring my emotions and pacifying people's behaviors, because that also is not congruent with this new example that you're setting. So how do you change this? Listen to the routine video that I put out. Do this. I just did a video on how to change your life. The title is Do This and Your Life Will Change Something. Let me get the exact title. Okay. Let me get the exact title for you guys, because I literally just put out a whole video on this. Do exactly this and watch your life transform fast. I talked about how to create a daily structure, the skeleton of that, and then how to add in what you're doing during the day to build yourself up. Okay. So just listen to the content, because I go into depth about how to approach these things, but it really does come down to how you're organizing yourself on the daily and being really honest about what's going on and what is driving your wants and desires. Okay. Because we don't want to be sitting here. I'm just sounding like a broken record now. Okay. We don't want to be sitting here waiting to be loved properly, waiting to be valued properly, waiting to be recognized. You have to be that person. And when you do that, that means you're going to operate differently, right? Because you operate differently, you create new results that match that new way of operating, that version of yourself that you're assuming. Okay. So I don't need him to be on me, but I'm interested in knowing if he is shy or it's literally a character flaw. Okay. So again, I'm going to be really honest with you guys here about this. I understand this thought pattern. I understand this train of thoughts, but I'm going to really challenge you. Okay. I'm going to really challenge you. Why are we wasting our time with people if we're worried about if they're shy or have character flaws? So if I know, and again, I'm not saying that no one's going to be perfect. So when I'm saying this, I'm never telling you guys you cannot have what you want. I'm really pointing you towards recognizing what you're really doing in the example that you're setting, because this goes into how dynamics form. So when we are willing to play with somebody, oh, we're making excuses, you're really shy, or you have character flaws, right? You're saying this is acceptable and okay for me. I am okay with people cutting corners, whatever it may be, right? When you have a grounded identity that says, I deserve people that are consistent, emotionally mature, emotionally available, communicate in healthy ways, grow, whatever it may be, right? We don't need to wonder. I don't need to know whether or not you're shy or have character flaws. I know exactly what I deserve. You can rise up to that. Okay? Just like how on your own, if you're shy, if you have character flaws, whatever it may be, if there are things you need to adjust within yourself, that is your responsibility to look at, to nurture, to grow, to take care of. So why are we over here playing? We're just being honest, okay? Why are we over here? Let me fix you. Let me figure this out. It is not your job to emotionally regulate people. It is not your job to raise people. It is not your job to teach people how to apologize to you. It is not your job. That is not what we're doing here. Okay. When you're interacting with people, the point ideally is to get into relationships and dynamics with people where you can grow together and build a life together. But if somebody is lacking the self-awareness or the ability to hold themselves accountable and grow, you sitting here and trying to figure it out and enabling it to degrees is not creating that space. You have to set that standard where it's like, yeah, nobody's going to be perfect. But if you're shy right now or you have character flaws, I don't need to investigate that because I already know what I deserve. So thank you for showing me this. I'm going to objectively look at it, take it for face value. I'm going to probably handle the situation and say, look, I think you're struggling with maybe feeling a bit shy, or you just have some things that you haven't addressed yet, which is fine. I don't judge you for that. However, I know exactly what I deserve. So, I'm going to move forward right now. When you set that example, think about this. When you set that example, now what? Now you're creating the space for somebody to rise up to meet you where you're operating. You're assuming a version of yourself that normalizes people showing up for you in the ways that you deserve. Cut out all this trying to figure things out. Cut out all this like being overly understanding because it's not your job. You are not here, again, to emotionally regulate people or raise them. You are just setting an example for what you're creating in your life. And this is why it's so important to make sure that you are not using specific people or circumstances to define you, to define who you are and what you get out of life. Because if we're sitting here and we're willing to play this way, baby, you are going to get people. Sha, please listen to me. You will be sent to a circus, sweetie. You will be taken on a roller coaster ride. You will. Okay? Because if we're keeping the standard here and we're being too understanding and accepting, you are just getting on that ride. You're putting the seatbelt on. You're saying, let's go. You got some loops for me? Great. Beautiful. Love it. Does the chair spin around? Awesome. Okay. You taking me to high peaks and then we're dropping down low? I'm buckled in. Let's go. Okay. So I know I'm trying to illustrate a point here, which is you have to realize and really look at that too. Like, okay, but like, even if they are shy or even if these things are going on, like, what do I deserve? What am I defining as true for myself? Right? What am I doing? So actually, I don't have to sit here and figure this out. Right? It's normal for people to be emotionally available, communicate in clear ways. My sense of self is not dependent on how this person is showing up. Again, we're going to expand outside of any sort of scarcity. There are plenty of attractive people that can be with me. It's normal for me to have options. So, okay, you're being a little bit shy. My standard is somebody that takes initiative. That's very important for me. So I'm going to accept this for what it is right now. Thank you for showing me this. I think you're really cute, really handsome, whatever it may be. Unfortunately, I need somebody, though, that can take initiative and be clear and concise with what they want and direct. So I'm going to move forward. Do you think that that's going to create a problem? Sweet, y'all, I love y'all so much. Okay. I love you so much. So, so, so much. But I really want you to think about this. Okay. No, the word no usually is not a deterrent. I know I did a live stream about this or a video about this recently. Okay. No is not a deterrent. Having standards is not a deterrent. Okay. People will rise up to the occasion if you give them that opportunity. Right. But you have to know that you deserve that first. They're never going to rise up to that occasion, though, if you are making it so easy and you're being so understanding. And that goes back to then, what do I actually believe I deserve? Because if I actually believe I deserve consistency, accountability, all these things, I'm definitely not going to be overly understanding. Mm-mm. And my sense of self is not going to be dependent upon you and your ability to do this thing for me. When you really genuinely realize and understand what I'm saying right now and can put it into practice, you will experience so much freedom and you're going to realize, wow, relationships can be so much easier than I've made them out to be in the past. Getting what I want can be so much easier than I've made it out to be in the past. My only problem previously was I was being too understanding and unconsciously accepting things that I didn't want and setting an example that this was okay because I was more concerned about not making other people uncomfortable. I was lying to myself in certain instances. I was pacifying things. And that was creating unnecessary turmoil in my life. No, you have to show people what is acceptable. And again, I'm all for realizing nobody's going to be perfect, but how you handle situations matter. What if he said he wanted a relationship, then he went completely ghost? One, again, this is where the first thing I think of is the decentering men meditation on my channel, the dark feminine energy. Okay. I understand, okay, that it is hurtful when somebody goes to you, but then at the same time, you have to realize, like, okay, I'm not going to internalize this. I don't really care why he went ghost. Don't need to know why. My sense of self is not dependent on this person. That's actually really lame because at the minimum, at the minimum, you could have just communicated, hey, you know what? I know I said I wanted a relationship, but I'm realizing there's some other things I need to focus on. I'm so sorry. I'm going to take a step back. So you're not even giving me the decency and the respect of communicating in a healthy way. You're just going to go ghost. That is really lame. That is pretty indicative that you are probably a bit mentally immature, below what I deserve. I'm not going to sit here and internalize this. Again, my sense of self is not dependent on you. I'm going to move forward because it's normal for me to actually receive genuine commitment. I did not need you to commit to me to know that that is what I deserve. And while it is hurtful to be ghosted, especially if I had a good rapport with you, I can process those emotions and not internalize this and move forward and set an example that I do not wait to get treated properly. This needs to happen, you guys. This is how you need to respond to those situations. You do not need to go on a CIA mission to figure out why they ghosted you and what's going on here. It's not relevant. It is not relevant for you to figure out. And it's in contradiction because I want you to really think about that. If I really genuinely identify as somebody that gets loving commitment, somebody that is emotionally mature, healthy, communicates in healthy ways, when you ghost me, I'm gonna more see that as lame. Like, wow, all right, you're fumbling. Like, when you come back around and you hit me up and you try and give me some lame excuse and reason as to why you ghosted me, it's not gonna work. I'm going to set an example that is, I deserve, at the minimum, somebody that can communicate in a healthy, mature way. Your ghosting just showed me you're unable to do that. So it's not really relevant because you are now operating outside of the scope of what I define as true for myself. Now you have an opportunity to rise up, apologize. Here's the other thing. People know what they are doing. Okay. So when these types of things happen, do not be quick to let people off the hook. They know what they did. They know they ghosted you. They know they could have handled that situation differently. This is why these moments matter. Because when you are just so forgiving and understanding, you will unconsciously set an example that is, you can do whatever you want. You can give me lip service, a little apology, and I will let you back into my life. You have full access to me again without actually having to make an effort. No, no, trust your discernment, trust yourself, trust your judgment. People know when they are not, when they ghost you, when they don't communicate health, they know. They're going to see, are you somebody that will allow me to get away with that? Okay. And you don't want to be that person. No, you're not just getting away with that. I don't care what your reason is. Okay. I don't care what your reason is. I deserve respect, consistency, healthy communication. You weren't able to do that. So you can put in effort to earn my trust back. You can take me out on nice dinners. You can make a consistent, genuine effort to show me why I should give you another chance. And if you're unwilling to do that, again, my sense of self is not dependent on you. You are not the only option for me. It is that way of operating. I'm not saying you have to give up. Okay. It's that way of operating that sets the example and forms the dynamics you actually want to experience, because now you're showing people respect is non-negotiable. Consistency is non-negotiable. I don't need to argue with you. I'm not interested in your reasonings. I'm not here to play games. I don't care. I don't care what happened. I know who I am. I know what I deserve. Here's the standard. Rise up to it or don't. I don't really give a fuck. Okay. And I'm telling you, that is the most attractive way. That's the most attractive way to operate, boo. I'm telling you, I'm really, really telling you. You will be so shocked and be like, wow, it actually can be so easy. This can be so easy. I don't have to play into any of the games. And I'm talking about genuinely embodying this. Boo, I will literally move forward. You think you thought I was the one? I could pop out. Okay. What's that song by Beyonce? To the left, to the left. Okay. But like genuine embodiment, you got to show people, you have to show people, you know what you deserve. And you have to actually follow through with that if you want to actually get that treatment. It has to be genuine. All right. So again, going back to the beginning of this live stream, some of you are in situations where you're unconsciously saying, I need this person to show up differently to validate something within me. And on top of that, some of you are really pacifying really negative, unhealthy behaviors when you're doing that. that is destroying your self-esteem. Okay? That is destroying your self-esteem. And also, it's backwards thinking. Love you, I'm just being honest. You define yourself. You decide what is normal in your life, and you set that example. And when you really embody this from a self-esteem standpoint too, it's going to build your self-esteem so much, you're gonna be like, wow, I really am a baddie. Like, I really don't wait for anything. I really handle business. I really respect myself. I really fucking love myself. I fuck with myself heavy. I deserve to be liked, loved, and embraced. I don't need you to validate that within me. It may feel a little bit off and weird at first, but when you really get into that energy, you're going to really feel yourself and you're going to consistently set that example. You're going to turn situations around. You're going to show people, I'm not the one to fuck with. I deserve that respect and that consistency. How do you get there? That is where nervous system regulation is important. That is where meditation is important. That is where showing up for yourself and giving 100% every single day is important. And if there's a day that you need to rest, fine, of course. That's, again, nervous system regulation, balance, right? But really looking at your life and saying, okay, if I am somebody that deserves respect, consistency, commitment, am I being that person with myself first? That's where health is important and wellness is important. Taking care of your body is important. Am I being deliberate with what I'm putting in my body? Am I getting exercise? Am I keeping my environment organized and a reflection of the standards that I want to create within my life? Or am I cutting corners on myself all the time, not very deliberate and not prioritizing committing to myself in the way I want to be committed to? Am I setting that example with myself first? Because once you start setting that example with yourself too, and you do the belief work and the nervous system regulation, you're unstoppable because you're already fulfilled. You built up a solid foundation for yourself too. Okay. And that goes into, well, I don't really need you to show up and validate me and define who I am because I'm already actively doing that. I'm setting that example at all levels within my life. When you're doing this, okay, I want you to also realize to create space for growth for yourself because it is, in my opinion, unrealistic to expect yourself to just snap into a completely brand new routine and way of operating. Okay. So create growth. Like maybe the first week is like, I'm going to really make sure this week I'm on top of nervous system regulation. Okay, got that down. This next week, I'm going to really make sure I'm on top of daily meditations. Okay, got that down. The week after that, I'm going to really become more aware of what I'm eating and how I'm taking care of my body. Okay, got that down. The week after that, I'm going to integrate in exercising 3 times a week. Okay, got that. The week after that, now I'm going to build on this. I'm going to read some books that reaffirm and help me build my beliefs and self-esteem. Okay, got that down. Okay, so like add it, build up, build momentum. And then, okay, now I'm going to look at dynamics. What am I waiting for that I shouldn't be waiting for? What am I lying to myself about? What am I using externally to validate myself with that is not congruent with what I actually want to create in my life? Okay, now that I have built this foundation up, let me look at these situations and handle them differently. It will become a momentum like effect where then all of a sudden through the nervous system regulation, the belief work, the organizing yourself differently, the handling situations differently, you will start to just snap into the operating this way automatically. It will become your new normal. And that is where consistent results and manifesting what you want becomes automatic because it already is automatic. Okay. So if we're in a version of ourselves where we're not being respected properly and then everything in our life is a reflection of that, it's on automatic. You're not deliberately like going out into reality and making these situations happen. You're just finding yourself stuck in patterns. So there are ways that you can get into a version of yourself where you automatically show up, set the example, and create the experiences that you want. It starts with a relationship with yourself. And then it also starts with really looking at things very honestly, very, very honestly, and discerning it accurately so that you can make the proper adjustments. Okay. What do you do if you have lost interest in dating and you just stop responding to men? Um, that is a layered question, Boo. I'm assuming we've probably been through quite a few. We've been through the ringer. Okay. We've been through the ringer. And so we're probably just at this point now where it's like, fuck this, BS. Y'all piss me off. I'm not even interested in any of you. I can understand that train of thought. My heart goes out to you. Sending you a big hug. Okay. I will say, like, we don't want to, when it comes to mindset work, I take a very reasonable approach with this because we cannot gaslight ourselves. And I can understand, again, this train of thought. But at the same time, my philosophy on this is like, I don't want to become jaded by the world. Okay? I don't want to, even if I've gone through negative experiences, I still deserve to have the experiences that I want. I'm not going to allow the world or the people in it to beat me down and let me lose that spark in my eye, or let me lose, you know, like my desire to embrace different components in my life. Because the reality is there are crappy people in the world. Even within a healthy belief system does not exempt you from crappy people, but you just become a lot more discerning with who and what you allow into your life. And then, kind of like the restaurant example that I used in yesterday's video, you will handle situations that sets that example. I don't really need you to like me to know what I deserve or to assert myself. So when you get into a healthy belief system in that regard and you don't allow the world to jade you, your discernment goes up. What I'm talking about here in this live stream, like you're on point with all that. You will just set an example and you remain open to those experiences. So my opinion on what you're talking about here is when we're feeling beat up and beat down, that is where, again, belief work around self-esteem is really, really important. Again, reaffirming in a boundaries, trusting your own discernment, trusting your decisions will put you into a mind frame where you can navigate the world in that confident way and handle situations properly before they. And I don't think you have a problem with boundaries, because right now it sounds like you're just like, no, 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 no. Okay. But like balance that with like, it's becoming easier for me to trust the right people. It's normal for my trust to be earned. I do believe there are people in the world that will respect me and love me and honor my boundaries. Okay, so it's not so vicious of a like cutoff game to where we're just isolating and not entertaining anybody. So again, that foundation, but then I would also, on top of that, make sure you add in beliefs about the gender you're attracted to. And it sounds like men. So like there are loving and respectful men in the world that will treat me properly. I'm open to only men that are loving and respectful. And then from that vantage point, when you're interacting with men, again, the moment you see something you don't like, okay, goodbye. But you'll have that space where there's a level of like, okay, when I really see something healthy and loving, I'll give this an opportunity. And that's where you want to be. Okay. You want to be discerning. You want what you want to be rare in that regard. You want to be difficult. This goes back to that video. You want to be difficult. Okay. So if there's a whole bunch of no's, don't let that define you. Don't let that jade you. No, 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 no. Don't let that be like, oh my God, all guys suck. Oh my God, it is a mess out here. Okay, Dylan, do you see the streets right now? What are you telling me, sir? Okay. It is rough out here in these streets. What you mean? What you mean? Like, where am I gonna? Okay, that's fine. Okay. But don't let those men define what is possible, because I promise you, there are loving, emotionally available men that will cherish you, that will take care of you, that will treat you properly. But make sure you have a mindset that is open to meeting and entertaining those men. Don't let your bad experiences jade you, because like I started this live stream, connection is such a beautiful thing. We are not designed to be hyper independent. A healthy, loving relationship, being supported, like having somebody that you feel safe with is a beautiful thing. And you can create that. But you have to also be honest. Okay, what if I'm interested in someone after 6 months, marriage ghosts, even though doing everything for them and husband staying away for more than I'm not sure what that question says. Okay, that's a little bit confusing. But even when you find yourself in situations where, again, like you're not getting the treatment that you deserve, don't let that define anything. This is where, yeah, your cutoff game should be strong. You need to set that example. And don't let people outside of you define you. Don't be too understanding, but set that example of, yeah, you know what? There are healthy men. There are people that will love and value me properly. And that's the only thing I'm going to accept. And if you cannot, if you particularly, sir, cannot do that, you're not defining me or what I get out of this life. You're not going to jade me. You just expose yourself. Thank you. Moving forward, move in that savage manner. And you will even see those men like circle back. Okay. Because respecting yourself and not waiting for anything and operating in this way is so attractive. So, so, so attractive. But then you also want to look at that like, you tried it. You tried it. Don't want to this. No, because I deserve somebody. Right off the bat, that shows up. Honors me properly. Okay. All my family and friends think my standards are insane. That's fine. Who cares? If they're accepting BS in their life and they don't have a relationship that you desire, you're just triggering them. That's it. It's not your standards are insane. It's I don't believe that I deserve that. So why do you think you deserve that? Do not let these people put you down or convince you to accept anything less than what you deserve, especially if they do not have a healthy, loving, consistent, whatever it is that you want in their life. Because I'm going to tell you straight up front, this is going to trigger people around you, and they are going to try to convince you to lower your standards, not because your standards are wrong or bad, but because they don't have standards themselves. That is the only thing that is going on. Okay? So don't let that define anything. But there's a key point here. There's a key point here with the application of this. You have to actually set that standard with yourself. So if you want consistency, love, proper treatment, but you are not being consistent, committed, or properly treating yourself, now we have a contradiction. Okay? So this really comes down to genuine embodiment. This is where belief work is really important. How you routine yourself, how you're showing up is important. Because if I'm over here not taking care of myself and I'm over here cutting corners on myself, but then I'm expecting the world, but I'm not even willing to give it to myself, it's not going to translate in the way that you want. It's going to translate as entitled. It's going to translate as delusional in a way that is unattractive. I'm just being straightforward, honest with this here. Okay. And I'm not saying you have to be perfect. I'm just saying, you really want to look and see like, okay, I really want somebody that is mature, emotionally available, consistent, committed, high standard, treats me amazing. Am I being that with myself? Am I actually? Am I really taking care of my body? Am I aware of what I'm putting into my body? Am I getting the proper exercise? Am I, being deliberate with my environment? Am I paying attention to detail with myself? Being committed to yourself too means when people are not committing to you properly, you commit to yourself. That's why these things are important, because if my whole sense of self is dependent on you externally validating me and committing to me for me to believe that I deserve commitment, then I'm not committing to myself in that moment, right? So all of these things have to be congruent. And when this really, really is congruent, think about what that means. Okay, so I'm going to be on top of being regulated. My mental health is going to be on point. I'm going to be eating really well. I'm going to be taking care of my body. I'm going to be on point with my environment. I'm going to be organizing myself in such a high standard way. I'm going to set the example of high standards in my life. Other people that have high standards are going to recognize that. They're going to be attracted to it because they find it attractive because they hold themselves to that same standard. And now I'm going to be in a version of myself that creates the potential to be with somebody that operates in the same manner because I'm setting that same example myself. That's how it works. That is how it works, because you get what you assume. You get who you're being, the identity you assume. And along that journey of doing that, people are going to try to convince you to not have standards. Family and friends, why are you doing this? You're doing too much. Like, you don't need to be doing all that. Your standards are too high. They are going to be eating their words. They will be gagged, sick to their stomach when they see you actually like, oh shit, they're popping out. Look at the ring they got. Look at how good their treatment they're getting. They might try and project like they're so stuck up. They think they're too good for anything. It's not even that. It really is not even that. Okay, so I believe I deserve real commitment and maturity and emotional availability, reasonable wants and desires. I believe that I deserve to be treated properly. Okay. That's not being unrealistic or thinking you're better than anybody. It's just triggering for people that do not hold that identity and they project that onto you. And this is where you have to be really aware of what's going on, because if you don't recognize it as projection, you're going to internalize it and think something is wrong with you. It's going to destroy your self-esteem. You're going to question yourself and you're going to let these people outside of you define you. Going back to the central thing here. Your opinion of me is more important than what I believe I want and deserve. So I'm going to adjust my standards to appease you so you validate me, so I believe that I deserve acceptance. See how that works? Now I'm lowering my standards to appease you because I want you to like me and approve of me over my own approval and liking. And now I'm going to accept things I don't want. This goes right back to the central point of today's video and what I've been talking about on my channel with being bold and audacious and not needing people's approval to validate you. You have to see how these things work, because what's happening is everybody in society is getting wrapped up in this. Okay. Everybody at the family and the friends, all of them that are gossiping, they're wrapped up in it too. They're just not realizing it. Okay. So when you operate above this is where that saying of like, you have haters, it's not hate. I don't even believe it's haters. I really don't believe it's haters. What's happening? Okay. What is really, really happening is, think about this from a self-concept, subconscious perspective. Okay. Somebody that does not believe that they deserve at a subconscious level, their standards are not on point. So they don't, at some level, it's not normal for them to receive commitment, love, and consistency. Okay. So they're rejecting that version of themselves internally, whether they realize it or not. Okay. Then you pop up in life and you're like, you know what? I actually deserve consistency, love, and acceptance. Right. So now you are to their brain, okay, you are now the circumstantial evidence of what they are rejecting within themselves. So what do? If they reject that version of themselves internally, and again, most of the time, this is not conscious. This is completely subconscious. They're rejecting that version of themselves internally. You are now going to be the physical representation of what they externally reject, that they project onto. Because now you're serving as evidence of what they do not accept within themselves. That's all that hate is. That's all it is that projection. So to me, it's not even hate. Okay. It's not hate. It is them just projecting their own, relationship they have with themselves onto you. This is why I say this is what I'm saying in my content. You show your romantic relationship is the physical externalized manifestation of the relationship you have with yourself. You can only accept from other people what you accept and how you show up for yourself, the standard and the example that you set. That's why this is important. And when you guys really implement this, you're going to trigger people around you. That's just the reality. That's just the reality. And it's not even personal. It's because they reject that within themselves. So they're projecting that self-rejection onto you. Once you realize that, you stop reacting to it. It actually becomes a sign of success. I know that sounds so weird. It actually becomes a sign of success. This is like, the more people I'm triggering, the more people that people are talking, or the more people that are talking about me, the more people that I trigger. It's because I'm doing things right. It's because I'm not doing anything wrong. Once that clicks and lands in place, you're not going to let the people's opinions define you anymore. Because you're going to realize, oh, I actually see what's going on. I'm actually not doing anything wrong. Okay, cool. Let me continue with what I'm doing. Okay. All right. I was on here way longer than I wanted to be. We're at 52 minutes now. My boyfriend is going to be like, come on, we got things to do today. Okay. So I have to get going. Okay. But I hope you took something away from today's live stream. I also want to say, thank you for everybody that has been engaging with the content, liking the videos, commenting, even going on my website. The views have gone up. The monthly coaching got booked out. So I'm so excited to work with the people that decided to do that. I have a few slots open for like one-on-ones, I think like maybe they're spread out. Okay. Like 2, I think this upcoming week, a few maybe next week too. Not really that many. So if you want personal feedback or guidance, I would love to help you. I really love the meetings. I always start off with saying too, like, I know it's a completely different experience to go from like watching content to interacting with somebody. And so I know when people book meetings with me, some of you are a little bit shy at the beginning. Okay. But we move through that so quickly. And it's just so cool to, like actually interact with you guys and listen to what you've gone through and give those perspective shifts and that guidance. So I just want to say thank you for anybody that's here, that again, whether you do the coaching or not, if you're engaging with the content, if you're sharing it, I really want you to take what I'm saying and listen to it, because this can really change your life. And this is what I'm talking about here. I'm being so straight up and real with you, because these, especially what I was just talking about with like projection, can cause you to doubt yourself so much and destroy your self-esteem. And once you realize, oh my God, I'm actually not the problem. Okay. Not that you're perfect. Okay. But like, I'm actually not doing anything wrong. People are just triggered because I'm actually standing up for myself and having standards and believing in myself. Once that clicks, there's so much freedom in it. Okay. So anyways, I hope you have a beautiful day, night time, wherever you are. Until next video, stay safe. All right. Bye.